Hello guys, welcome to another session. In this session, we are going to look into class components. So let's look into that. So in our earlier session, we have discussed about the functional components. Now let's look into the class components. So what is class component in React? In a simpler term, it is basically a ES6 classes. Similar to the functional component, class component also receive props, but the difference between both prop passing mechanism, you will find that we are passing the prop over here with the help of parameter, and over here we pass with constructor. But in both the cases it returns the JSX, which is nothing but a HTML piece of code. If you see over here, the functional component is returning this JSX, and over here the render function, and within that you will find that render function is returning this JSX, which is nothing but a HTML code. The benefit of using the class component, you will find something called state, and the state of the component is private to that particular component, and it is being used to describe the user interface. So to understand it in a better way, let's do an exercise. So let's jump into the Visual Studio Code. But prior to that, let's look into this diagram which we are having over here. So earlier we have created this header component with a functional approach. Now to understand the class component, what I am going to do, I am going to create main component with the use of class component approach. So if you remember the steps, so first we will create the folder within that. So we are going to create a folder over here that is called main content, and within that I am going to create a file called main content.js. Now next I need to import it. So two things I need to import it. One is the React and another one is the component, and here we need to specify component from React. Save it. So let's now create the ES6 class. We will tell that class, and here we need to specify the name of the class. To make this class as a React component, we need to perform two steps. The first step, it should be extended from React component class, as well as it should contain the implementation of the render method. So let's do it. Extends, and over here we need to specify the component class. Now the next step is we need to define the render method. So over here we need to specify return, and then we need to specify the HTML, which is a JSX, and we will tell that main content. This is simple. I keep it straightforward to make you understand what actually the class component is. Now the next step is we need to export default main content. Now once it is being done, we have created a class component. Now we need to import it in our app.js file, and then we can incorporate it within the code of app.js. So let's do it. So here we need to specify import, and this time we are going to tell that main content from, and we need to specify component, and over here main content. Now let's add this component into the app. So how we can do that? Call it main content, close it, save it. Now let's look into the output. So to get the output, as usual, we need to specify cd, and over here we need to specify the name of the project. Once we are inside the project, we need to specify npm start, enter. It will run our application. So here you will see that we have put the main content. It doesn't look like whatever the design which we have seen in our discussion, because we haven't applied any kind of a style on any of the component. How to apply a style on component, that we will look into further session. So let's proceed further. So now we have seen how to create class component. So now you can easily make out what is the difference between a class component and the functional component. The first visible difference is here we are using the class keyword, and which is being extended from the component class. And when we are creating the functional component, we are simply defining a JavaScript function, which is over here the arrow function. And sometime we pass the prop parameter over here so that we can pass the value to this particular function. So for a time being, you just remember these two differences. There are many differences between class component and the functional component. I will introduce all these differences a step by step manner. Whenever I introduce a new concept, on that time I will tell you this thing, whether it is being applied to class component or whether it is being applied to the functional component. So the point to remember over here is a functional component is a simple JavaScript function. It should be written with the help of arrow function or with the help of function keyword, whereas the class component is being extended through component class, and it is being created with the help of class keyword, and it contains a method called render and which should be returning the HTML in a React term JSX as an output. So on this note, I am stopping over here. In the next session, we are going to have a detailed discussion about JSX. So see you in the next session. Till then, bye bye, take care.